Alright, we would like to sometimes write equations from word problems so that we can actually solve some real-world scenarios. At this point in the game, our real-world scenarios are not that interesting, but as we move through math through high school, your word problems in real-world situations will definitely become a lot more interesting. Alright, so for the first example, it says half of a number is 16. It says that they'd like us to write an equation to represent the situation and then to define our variable and to solve. Well, okay, so not a very interesting situation at all. But I need to teach you how to dissect the problem so that you can successfully write the equation and solve the problem. The first thing that I always have people do is figure out what the variable is and what it needs to represent. So in this particular problem, it says half of a number is 16. That's really the only important piece of information we have here. The rest of the information happens to be just instructions. So we'll start there. First off, what are we trying to find? I think we're trying to find a number. Well, that's the number we're trying to find, right? So we set that as our variable. So let's let n equal the number. Next, we want to write an equation so that we can solve it and find the number that they're talking about. Well, when we read a problem, the word is, and I'm going to put a box around that, usually or always means equal sign. So I'm going to put an equal sign. And then the first part of the statement is the left-hand side of the equation. The next part is the other side of the equation. So clearly 16 needs to go on this side. Okay? It says half of a number. The word of in mathematics means to multiply. We talked about that on day 1, so hopefully you have that in your notes. But the word of means to multiply. So we take half times the number. There's our equation. And then, if we wanted to solve this half of n, that's 1/2 times n, we could divide both sides by a half. And make sure you type that into the calculator correctly. That was discussed also in a previous video. N is going to equal 32. You should always check that your answer makes sense in your word problem. So for this one, think about it. Half of 32 is 16. So this answer makes sense. Okay, so now for something maybe a little more interesting, but again, still not like earth-shatteringly important. Okay, Mrs. Gaddy has 2 dogs. Her friend, Anna Marie, has 3 less than twice as many as Mrs. Gaddy. So how many dogs does Anna Marie have? Okay, so we first must decide what is it we are trying to find. What is it that we're being asked to answer? We're trying to figure out how many dogs does Anna Marie have. So that should be our variable. So let's let D equal dogs that Anna Marie has. Okay? Then I need to go through my problem and find the information that could be used to write an equation. Usually you're going to see a lot of math words or number words or something of that sort. So it says her friend Anna Marie has 3 less than twice as many as Mrs. Gaddy. Okay, that's fine. Mrs. Gaddy has 2 dogs. So we should be able to do this, right? I hope so. Okay. If it says that she has 3 less than, there's a key word that we talked about on day 1, twice, that's another key word, as many as Mrs. Gaddy. That means that Mrs. Gaddy has 2 dogs. If we want to do twice the 2 dogs Mrs. Gaddy has, that's 2 times 2. And less than means to subtract. We have 3 less than that. So we're going to subtract 3. And that should be the number of dogs that Anna Marie has. So again, let's go through that again, because this is hard for most people. Okay, it says 3 less than twice as many as Mrs. Gaddy. So when we say as many, twice as many, we're talking multiplication. So if you first multiply Mrs. Gaddy's dogs by 2, and then you take 3 less than that, that's how many Anna Marie should have. So that means that Anna Marie has to have 1 dog, because 2 times 2 is 4, and 4 minus 3 is actually equal to 1. Alright, one last example just to make sure. Alright, this one says, a recycling plant recycled 2 tons of cans yesterday. This is a third of their usual amount. How much does the plant usually recycle? Well, we first want to find out what it is we're trying to find. We're trying to find how much does the plant usually recycle. So let's let X be the amount usually recycled. Okay? Then we get the important information. They recycled 2 tons yesterday. And again, another mathy type of thing is this is a third of their usual amount. We need that information to write an equation. So the word is, again, is an equal sign. On one side, we have 2, and on the other side, we have a third of their usual amount. A third is 1/3. The word of means multiply, multiplied times the usual amount. Well, that's X. So there's our equation. Now we just need to solve. So if I want to solve, I know that I need to multiply by 3 on both sides. So then X has to be 6. So think again, does your answer make sense? A recycling plant recycled 2 tons of cans yesterday. It usually recycles 6 tons. And 6 tons times a third is, of course, 2 tons. So yeah, that makes a lot of sense.